Apologies for being late. I was at the Google link and then I'm going back and forth. I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, I'm here. I'm good.
It,
How you doing?
I'm all right, my friend. It's okay. We have to update the zooms just because of the sheer amount, technical
Okay.
difficulties. It's all on my end. How's life? How's Plum?
Good, good, good. Can't complain. Busy, but good busy. How are you? How's your social battery for the day?
My social battery gets fed off of these types of conversations. I
Really?
would do this every single day
Oh my God.
if I had the guests lined up, and it's probably what we're going to end up doing. But look, I'd love to learn little bit about you outside of what we can learn on the internet, and more about Plum.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah, and I'm equally looking forward to it.
Awesome. Tell me about you and Plum.
Okay. Well, okay. So, Asim, founder and CEO of Plum. I grew up, well, I was born in India, grew up in Dubai. I was shipped to Dubai when I was about 3 months old. I lived in Dubai
Literally.
all my life. Well, when I say shipped, in a plane. Um, I grew up in Dubai all my life and dabbled into many different businesses. I started my first business when I was 17, online gaming, and then food and beverage, digital marketing. I was in the property sector for a very long time. Love Dubai, love, I mean, that was home. Wanted to do something in the mental health space because of my mum. So growing up, my mum suffered from severe depression. She's a completely different person now. She started seeking therapy. She didn't stop there. She became a therapist herself. So that really gave me the both the spectrums, the positives and the negatives when one addresses their mental health. So always wanted to do something within the space, but I was absolutely ashamed that my mom was a therapist. As we can appreciate, there's a lot of stigma around mental health, and this is about 16, 17 years ago.
Hmm.
So the stigma was even more so. And talking about stigma in that part of the world, Middle East, Asia, much more than the Western world. So
Which is
wanted to
surprising,
start
right?
the
Like, given the cultural background and spending so much time in meditation and like actively understanding the mind.
fair point. Fair point. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think it's a cultural thing more than anything else, especially, when it comes to men, boys don't cry and you have to man up and so on. And I
Hmm.
think that's a little bit more so within that culture. So, yeah, so I think, wanted to do something in this space, never did anything. Stigma was just so much. And then it wasn't around 2016 when I had my own fair share of mental ill health. As I mentioned, I was in the property sector for a very long time, invested a lot of money, lost a lot of money, and I went into a really dark place. When I came out of that headspace, and I believe I was fortunate as well that I had my mum's experience, so I started taking care of my own mental health. When I came out of that headspace, I really wanted to get into a line of business where my only motivator wouldn't just the top line or the bottom line of the business, something that would be bigger than me, bigger than my mom even. So started exploring the whole telehealth, telemedicine space. Saw a lot of platforms and apps that would connect you with GPs and doctors and specialists, but the whole mental health space was not as robust as we see it today. So started developing the platform and finally launched the platform in 2018, and but launched it here in the UK. Two reasons. One was the whole stigma and the conversation around mental health was not as mature as we see it in the Western world. And secondly, I just felt that the startup ecosystem was also not as mature or robust. So, that was the shift and the catalyst for me to move to the UK and start the business here.
Love that. Plum then today is more than just a platform, I'm guessing.
Correct. Yeah. So we started off, 2020 really was our COVID really was our silver lining. And,
Hmm.
we kind of launched pre-COVID and it was very difficult for us just within the mental health space. So we actually started off as a B2C going direct to consumer. I
Oof, that
quickly
must have been
understood, yeah,
difficult.
yeah, yeah, quickly understood that, oh my God, like this is hard.
But I think
And
today, if
hard,
you did it with the audience online and
well,
distribution you've got, maybe it's a better play or as good a play.
Well, yes, but I would also argue that because fundamentally the biggest problem is the cost.
Hmm.
So, you're trading, a specialist's time for money, and that no matter what you do is not going to be cheap. Like, I mean, a lot of people cannot afford private therapy. That is why a lot of people actually have not tried therapy. It's just easier to have 2 or 3 pints and just de-stress and just forget about, like, drink your problems from that perspective. So really, cost was a big element more than anything else. And then that's when we decided to shift the cost onto the corporates or onto the workplace, because what you also find out is that majority or a large bulk of your stressors are because of workplace or financial well-being and so on. So when we started speaking to companies pre-COVID, it was, what is it for us? How does it affect our bottom line and so on, return on investment? But then COVID hit, and that was really our silver lining. And since then, we didn't have to educate the market anymore. COVID did that work for us, and yeah, we started seeing exponential growth. However, the last 2 or 3 years, we can all appreciate cost of living crisis, and then after that, mass layoffs, and that is just continuing
We've
now
almost
with
gone through like
AI
two cycles
agents.
of that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And sadly, because of that, there's obviously we all know mental health is such a big buzzword, but there's more talk and less action. That is
Hmm.
also a sad reality because ultimately you need to put money where your mouth is. But again, I mean, I appreciate running a business myself. If I'm looking at if I have only enough money to make bank for salaries, the first thing that is cut out are benefits. And mental health as a proposition is looked at as a benefit, which is a good to have and not a must have. It's not business critical. So
How do you
this
make
started
it?
happening.
How do you make it business critical? What is
Yeah, well,
the thinking around
yeah.
that?
I mean, really, it's a buy-in from the leadership team, right? So, I
Hmm.
mean, if the leadership team fundamentally believes it's business critical, it's the right thing to do, they would do it. There's no
God, you
other
know
way
how
to
to
do
talk
it.
to
We tried
enterprises, don't
to.
you?
Yeah, we tried everything. And I remember because we now expanded into the whole HR space, and that is our way of making it business critical. And I'm going to come to that. But the first, I mean, we took this decision roughly about a year and a half ago.
Hmm.
And the first 6 months, it was having these tough conversations with corporates. Oh my God, you're not going to think twice before you pay for a HubSpot or a Salesforce, but the human beings behind those CRM systems, you don't give a shit about their mental health. But sometimes you have to lose a few battles to win the war. And we're just like, okay, this is just pointless. Because I can also appreciate um, it's not that companies didn't get it. It's simply because everyone in this space or everyone in the world is being affected. At this point in time, I mean, large, economies are being shifted and so on. And maybe AI, you can argue, plays a part, but it's just a downturn in the economy. Nobody's immune to it, and we're all connected. So if they're losing clients, they're losing money. They now have to look at their headcount. They're losing headcount. So the last thing they can do, I mean, the priority then just becomes salaries, ultimately. And I can appreciate that running a business. So if I also had to make that tough decision, I would prioritize salary over anything else. So, and that's when we're like, okay, let's lose this battle and let's try and win the war, expand into the whole HR space. And that came from a place where, any startup, in my opinion, you're either growing or dying. There's nothing in between. So we're like, okay, shit, we don't want to die. Start interviewing our buyer, which is the HR, and try and see what other problems we can solve for them. And what we realized is typical HR uses roughly about 4 to 7 different platforms: ATS,
Hmm.
LMS, payroll, and so on. So okay, this is obviously a problem. How can we make it into like a one-stop solution where your data is not fragmented, you're spending less time on admin, and obviously we're able to reduce your costs. Yeah, so that's when we said, okay, let's try and make this like an all-in-one proposition, AI enable, obviously. And
Does
yeah,
the
here we are.
proposition make a lot more sense now to buyers, whether that's enterprises, small to medium businesses?
Yeah, 100%. I think the buyer behavior has changed. Well, human behavior has changed. So
Have you
if you look
seen that
at
in the way that have you seen that both as users, like as obviously a lived experience, but also from the people and the customers buying Plum?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, if you look at around 2020,
Hmm.
people would not touch an all-in-one proposition simply because if you're all-in-one, if you're doing everything, you're doing nothing. You have to be laser focused, and that's why all-in-one. I mean, people stayed away from all-in-one, like they wanted pure plays. So, if you're a payroll, you just do payroll and you do it correctly.
Hmm.
If you're well-being, you do that, and ATS, you do that, and so on. So that was the buyer behavior, the buyer sentiments, whatever, and I can appreciate that because to build the all-in-one solution, and any HR platform is a proper intense enterprise level CRM system. Like takes a lot of time, a lot of manpower, a lot of resources, and so on. If we were to build what we're building today 5 years ago, we would have needed 10 times the time and 10 times the money to be invested, maybe more, if not less. But the downturn in economy also pushed us now to advance AI the way we see ChatGPT and all the AI models have changed our lives dramatically. But it's also changed human behavior. So today, you expect that one thing to do everything for you. ChatGPT is your travel planner to your coach to your nutritionist, and you don't even go to Google anymore. So you literally want ChatGPT to do everything for you. So the sentiments have dramatically changed. People also expect convenience from that perspective.
Hmm.
So okay, can I just have this one platform which does everything for me? People also um, see the value in shifting, but also see the product. Today, we're also, because of the new models, and we also did not have that legacy infrastructure because we built everything from scratch just yesterday. So we were also able to build on the new infrastructure. Everything was a clean slate for us. So people also see the value in the product. I mean, we also, because we're in the space, which is, I mean, most people in HR don't leave their platform simply because they don't hate it enough, because embedding yourself in that ecosystem is just so difficult. It takes so a long time, and then once you're in it, you just don't want to leave it, no matter how crap it is.
Hmm.
So we couldn't only just build a like to like platform if we want people to migrate. It had to be far superior. So we were only able to do that simply because the whole world has changed from
Hmm.
a tech perspective, agents and models and so on. So people expect convenience, but people also know that they can get a better, far superior product, even if it's an all-in-one. So it's like a win-win kind of situation for them.
So in the context of like who competitors end up looking like, do you consistently think about like what if Copilot just brings out an app to do what we do, or is there a defensibility built into the product that you obviously see something the rest of the world doesn't?
Well, I mean, I think for us today, when we look at our competitors, especially the large players in the market, because very quickly we're competing with the large players in the market, and about 7 out of 10 times we're winning when we
Hmm.
demo. The remainder 10 times is, yeah, maybe a little bit of product, but also timing, because you're locked into a 2 year, 3 year, 5 year contract. So how can you even shift? But at least you're top of mind. So I mean, from a defensibility perspective, I think it's our ability to move faster than the incumbents in the market. Really, that's it. I mean, it's for us to be able to move at speed. Yes, we do have a really big USP that all these players don't have, is the well-being or the mental health aspect, because that is a completely different line of business that I don't think any other HR platform would embed unless they do an acquisition. But today, that is our defensibility. But really, to be able to move at speed simply because, I mean, everything is just new. We don't have that legacy systems. We also don't have bloated teams. So we're just able to communicate faster and just move at
Hmm.
speed. Today, as it stands, I would like to say it's something so magical, but I just believe we're able to move that much more faster than anybody else. And I think that is what true startups leverage on. It's the power of speed.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more. I want to talk about the models a little bit. Obviously, they have different flavors. I feel like they've got different personalities, like a Grok to an OpenAI or GPT to a Claude. Like, do you end up hot swapping between all of them? Obviously, Gemini is included in that as well. Like, for me, when I think personable, I do think Claude and Grok, just because like Grok's based on Grok's largest data set is Twitter, right? But whenever I want something, I usually end up going to Claude. Like, do you find a similar flavor of how that interacts in the inside of the product itself?
Yes, I do. However, I've taken a conscious decision to just stick to ChatGPT for anything and everything. And I'll tell you why. I think because I'm in this space building with AI every single day,
Hmm.
and I have anxiety on the daily simply because I'm like, oh my God, like how fast are things moving? And then also it really also gives me another level of anxiety thinking, shit, like I'm actually building with these models and I can't keep up. Like I
Hmm.
really can't keep up. I don't know if you can, but I can't keep up. And then I think about, wow, the remainder of the people who are so far away from what we know within the space and we're building versus people who are using, and a lot of people actually even not using. And And that gap is exponentially increasing every single day. So anyway, so one is paralysis by analysis, like what do you do because this thing is good for this, the other thing is good for something else, and so on. But I've just just for my stress levels to be at a very good balance rate, I'm just like, okay, we're building with OpenAI because that's where Microsoft is where our infrastructure sits on. Microsoft is also OpenAI and so on. And okay, so for my use case, I just stick to OpenAI and I just don't overthink. I mean, I'm anyway better with any model versus not having a model. Yes, Claude can do something 10% better and Gemini can do something 5% better, but I just ignore that. At this point in time, for me, that's just noise, and it just does a lot of distraction more than help me. So I'm just sticking to my guns and just one platform.
Love it. I want to switch gears slightly. Obviously, outside of work, you are very very vocal online. Whether that's predominantly on LinkedIn, as I've found it, has being building the distribution been positive towards like the talent that you can attract to the business, but also the serendipity of conversations that allow you to obviously sell the product.
Oh, 100%. I
And
wish I
has that been
started.
intentional?
Oh, 100. I think all of us are building a personal brand online. All of us. Most of us are doing it unintentionally because we all have a social media handle, right? In
Hmm.
this day and age. I have intentionally put time, money, effort, resource, whatever around it. That's the only difference. And I've been doing it for the past couple of years. I think perhaps about 2 years religiously and on and off 2 years prior to that as well. So roughly about 4 years. But 100% intentional and 100% the opportunities. Like I wish I started earlier, having said that, I also did not have the bandwidth or the headspace to start earlier because we all, especially builders, we all know how important personal brand is. But it's just priorities. It's just like, I mean, I know if I had to do what I'm doing 4 years ago, like how do I build the product or do I build my personal brand? But the reality is, you could have the best product or service under the sun, but if you don't have attention, it does not really matter. And because this is, I think I've even lost count now. What number of business this is on? For me, like building a team, raising money, building a product, that is more or less easy at this time. It comes to me second nature because I've just been doing it since so many years. This is the only thing I know. But attention, like it's a struggle every single day. Like I'm still learning. I'm still trying to work hard towards it. If I had that and a mediocre product, I would be doing better than what I'm doing today. So 100% intentional. And yeah, it's just yeah, I mean, I'm from VC to talent to opportunities. Yeah, I mean, and it's I mean, the compounding effect is also exponential. Like like how it changes over time. Like it's amazing.
Yeah, distribution today seems like the buzzword for everything in startups and VC, right? We see these like buzzy new like sizzle videos coming out of startups. Consistently, everyone is making or driving attention towards themselves, etc. Like this new flavor feels very in vogue right now, and obviously you've been in the game a little longer, building in a slightly different way. What's vision for Plum then, long term?
World domination.
Love that.
Well, really, I mean, my, you know, from a personal standpoint, um, because we offer mental health at our core. Like, I mean, when you buy Plum, any service of Plum, you get mental health services anyway. And I think, one of the biggest catalysts, like I mentioned earlier on as well, of our stresses, anxiety, mental health related issues, really is financial well-being and workplace and so on. So, I mean, if we can normalize that conversation through Plum, I think we would have won. So really, that's from a personal perspective. But from a business standpoint, really, I mean, I'm biased, but I think we have a great product. I think in the next couple of years to become the biggest player in the UK and expand into Europe and then North America. And I think a lot of companies in the UK, their North Star is the US. So perhaps, yeah, we're coming for you.
Love that. The you probably see a lot online about these humanoid robots that are coming into the workplace. They're sort of getting better and better consistently around like, doing physical actions. Obviously, I'm assuming Plum is. predominantly geared up towards companies that spend a lot of time just online building, like either building software, working with software, FMCG, CPG. What do you think the like? What do you think Plum looks like for these robots?
Wow, it's a very good question. I have no idea because nobody's ever asked me that question. Well, but I think human beings, like, I mean, it's so interesting. We evolve. So, like, I have no clue how that looks like for these robots, but I'm sure we'll figure it out once we get there. Whenever that conversation comes in, because we're just adding a new service line. And this morning I was speaking to my CFO, and she's like, "Yeah, but we need a plan of action, and then what do we do, and the timelines, and how do we do it?" I'm like, I don't know, let the first client come in, let us fail, and we just figure it out. So I
What's the
think the
new
same.
service line?
It's managed payroll. So
Nice.
we're adding a service line, not just a product. We're adding a service line. So because we've got payroll as a product, and we'll be adding the service line as managed payroll. Maybe I shouldn't have said that we're figuring it out, but yeah, we are. I mean that's a reality of any business, and I think that's the right way to do it. Also, you can have all the plans and strategies in the world, but as soon as you give it to the end user or the customer then tells you, you know, how the product should change or evolve. And that's the right way to build any service and product also.
We live in a world today where actually we're allowed to like we're okay to break things or okay to not know more than ever. I'm not sure about you, but like I look at these new models, I look at these companies that are consistently like just cropping up everywhere. It's move fast, break things. Speed is the differentiator. But I'm okay with it not being like completely ready, while at the same time it delivering overwhelming amounts of value.
Yeah, so I mean, I would like to think every single time it delivers overwhelming amounts of value, but the reality is, I think starting is super important. And I know we hear this in social media every single day, but it's really a fact. Like, I mean, this managed payroll also is an example for us, or any product. I remember when we first had that internal conversation. Okay, we're going to move into HR. People are like, "Whoa, this is madness! You can't move into HR. Like HRIS is such a mature space, big players in the market, and it's so complex, it's going to take you years to build and so on." Okay, we moved into it anyway. Payroll, for example, they said, okay, fine, you've moved into this, but do not move into payroll. And that was including my board. But then here we are. Now we've got payroll as well. I think being naive and not knowing, I think, is also very important, because if I knew how complex this space is, I promise you, I would have never gotten into it. So I think that naivety helps, but also the being aggressive into just taking that first step forward, regardless of the unknown. I think that's super important, because the reality is you figure it out, and especially in this day and age, wow, we're spoiled for choice. Like, I mean, if information was a problem, we would all be successful and rich. There's just too much information, and now with your AI models and Chat GPT and whatever, like, I mean, you can figure out whatever you want to figure out. But starting is important.
It's never been a better time to start
No,
anything than ever in history before. Look, Asim, before we let you
100%.
go, last question. Um, is there a founder, is there a company you look at, like no, more specifically a founder you look at, and you don't want to emulate, but is on your Mount Rushmore of like, wow, this individual is great. I consistently
Ooh,
come back to their readings. I consistently come back to their thoughts.
good point. I mean, he's also very hated and really a little bit far away, but maybe Elon Musk. I think the guy is really changing the world. I think he's our next Einstein.
Yeah.
I really think so. Yeah.
I'm not sure how he thinks
So
about HR, given that like he just works everyone to
no,
death, but
no,
I'm on
yeah,
board.
yeah,
I'm on board for it.
yeah, yeah. I know he gets a lot of bad rap, but I fundamentally believe he's changing the world.
Asim, this has been an absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to doing this again in a longer segment whenever you've got some new news. Thanks so much for the time, my friend.
Thank you so much, Viraj. All the best. Thank
Ciao.
you.